Anyways, where is it? So there's this video that Accented Cinema has released, which I would like to show you
This video is
guys.
sponsored by Squarespace.
Hold up. I'm not sponsored by Squarespace. Right, so yes, it's about Shang-Chi and the Perpetual Foreigners. So Perpetual Foreigners. What do you think it means? Does anybody have an idea? And if there are no answers in 2 minutes, I'm going to explain anyway. So yeah, you can just wait around. Shang-Chi was pretty solid. Like when I watched it. I don't know how many people has watched it already here, but like the action was very, very good in my opinion. Like it had me riled up. Very excited. But then dragons got involved. So I'm like I thought I was gonna see more fight scenes. Yes, Haku? It's always been seen as a foreigner because of how you look. Yeah. Yeah. It's the opposite actually, Guru. But you are on the right track. Action was lame because it isn't Dragon Ball. It's not anime though. You want live action Dragon Ball? See how it compares to Shang-Chi. Oh god. Ugh, Dragon Ball Evolution. It never happened. It never happened. It never happened. I refuse to believe it happened. Anyways, yeah, so Perpetual Foreigners, it essentially means that no matter where you go, you feel like you don't fit in. That is what it means to be a Perpetual Foreigner. So, Perpetual Foreigner, it pretty much boils down to how, like, in this case, Shang-Chi has grown up in America, right? He looks different. He looks like a foreigner by American standard, I guess. Traditional American standard, right? But if he goes back to China, he'll still feel like he doesn't fit in because he didn't grow up there. And the Asians that are going to be around him, well, Chinese people, not strictly limited to Chinese people because China also has diversity in there too. But yeah, they're going to see Shang-Chi as a foreigner too because of the way he speaks, the way he acts around people. He doesn't fit in. So that's what being a perpetual foreigner means. You'll never feel like you fit in anywhere. That's what the definition boils down to. If it ain't Dragon Ball, it ain't good. Dragon Ball Evolution though. Dragon Ball Evolution though. They tried though. They did it once though. Once upon a time though. I wish they would do another live action like properly this time. Like to like a Marvel quality. I hope. Yeah, and like what this guy described, and I'm going to link the video here because I don't wanna steal content because I've been doing that for like the past 20 or so minutes, right? He talks about, huh? What he was saying? That's not a thing, and they are in production of one. Oh, live action? I hope they don't do another Death Note mistake. You know what I mean? Death Note by Netflix also didn't happen. Yeah, this guy is gold. Like he was great in the movie. But anyways, yeah, he pretty much discusses how. Goodness, calm down. That's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, accented cinema pretty much discusses how different Black Panther was compared to Shang-Chi. With Black Panther, there's a representation happening where it speaks on how the culture was stolen, right? By the colonizers. Not trying to turn this into anything political, but yeah. It's pretty much like I think it tackled the topic well in terms of the missing representation that the black people needed at the time, the black community in America. I'm not an American, so I don't really know what goes on in there. But yeah, Shang-Chi was expected to do something similar because there wasn't much of an Asian hero in the Marvel cinematic universe. So Shang-Chi coming in was like a very exciting thing for the Asian American community, I guess. And then it turned out to be very it's very indifferent from what other, superhero movies were. What's this? Roski, what is this? Oh, that movie. Okay. Don't get caught though. Don't get caught doing that. Yeah, so what accented cinema wanted to point out was in Shang-Chi, Shang-Chi is represented as this this guy who is experiencing diversity issues in America, but when he goes back to China, it's almost like, he fits in perfectly when he doesn't. I think I'm paraphrasing it correctly. If I'm wrong, just in case I'm wrong, I strongly encourage you guys to check out the video. But Matrix Resurrection is also there too, huh? Happy for you, Rusky. Happy for you. What was I gonna say? Like, the thought of not being able to fit in is something that isn't discussed often. Like, you look one way and people expect you to speak a different language, right? But it's another thing to look like you're one of them, but at the same time, they don't expect you to be one of them. Am I talking about this right? Wait, but you're experiencing the same thing? Yeah, so that's what Perpetual Foreigner is being like. That's what it's all about. So if I were to go back to Japan, I'm still going to be a Perpetual Foreigner because I'm too westernized. I'm too, let's say, more outspoken than most Japanese people. Probably more rude in terms of speech because I'm not exactly educated on the manners of how Japanese people should be speaking. Although I can speak the language, I'm not used to speaking that way, right? Thank you, Rusky. Yeah. So, yeah, that is a very complicated topic to tackle. Like, how do you solve that issue where you feel like you don't really, I guess, fit into this mold, the societal mold that we have built on ourselves? It's a new idea because we're slowly, we're going through globalization and, people traveling everywhere. Of course, they're going to be fucking each other and having babies. And, of course, some of them is going to look different from the others. Because if a person from Korea goes over to France and, have sex there, pops out a child, might have an Asian face, but they speak fluent French. That baby will eventually become a Perpetual Foreigner. Yeah, French. Hon hon. Right? Yeah. But this kind of issues get overlooked because it's not a big issue, but it does exist. I'm one of them. I'm a Perpetual Foreigner. And to be honest, I can't think of a solution. I mean, I like to think I speak fluent English. Most of the time I fail at, trying to describe how I feel or what I want to say. But I'm still fluent. I can still speak the language. I can still act like one of the natives here, I guess. But it still doesn't feel like my culture. Australian culture is not mine. But I'm merely just borrowing it. Does that make sense? Like, for the sake of surviving, obviously I'll have to like partake in this cultural nature of it all, I guess. But if I go back to Japan, I know I'm not gonna fit in. Or maybe I just feel like I don't fit in. I don't know. I know for a fact that I'm not gonna get used to having lack of bins in, like, I don't know, wherever I go. Just fit in, lol. Fuck the second lol. It's not that simple. You gotta learn mannerisms and shit too, you know? And people who live there has not experienced a life that you as a perpetual foreigner has. You know what I mean? Like being in another country and like being bullied about the way you look or how you dealt with that problem, or even not being able to speak their language is not something that a lot of, in my case, Japanese people experience. They don't experience that because probably 80%, 70% of them will never leave the country. Yeah, Amanda, what do you mean? I'm just talking in general, speaking in general relativity. I just learned that language today. Language? Word. I just learned that word today. Yeah, being a perpetual foreigner. I always wanted to cover this, but I just didn't know how to describe myself as that. We're just saying I kind of felt left out when I was younger. I used to sound very not where I'm from, and people pointed that out a lot. I know this isn't the same though. I think, Wedge, you're really smart. That last message that you sent tells me how smart you are. I like that. You know, that last message that you send out explains exactly how open-minded you are. And that will become very important eventually in many problems that you'll eventually face, because life is full of problems. Yeah, but anyways, yeah, I think the experience, of course, is going to be different. I'm an Asian who lives in, I guess, what's the right word for it? in a white dominated space. You understand? So of course, if a white person were to go to Asia, then it'll be Asian dominated. Right? So yeah, vice versa does exist. I'm just using myself as an example. I look a certain way, so people comment on that, and that's fair. Like, xenophobia, it exists, and sometimes people want to make light of it by, I guess, commenting on it humorously. It may come off as offensive sometimes, but you gotta look into the intention and how they want to break the ice, right? They gotta start somewhere, and when you're faced with something that you're not familiar with, a lot of people won't know how to deal with that situation, and you gotta understand that. Or I have to understand that. Now we are like better educated when it comes to like talking to people who looks different from you. Like now is different. But before that though, I think everybody was trying to deal with this new changes their own way. And I think everybody was finding it difficult, even the victims too. The Asians or, black people that moved elsewhere who's being made fun of. And if you're French and you move to America, I don't know why I keep using French as an example, but yeah, like if you have a certain accent, then people will notice that and be like, wow, pointing fingers. You're different from us. Makes you feel like you don't really fit in, and that's all part of being a perpetual foreigner. So which your feels are justified. I think having a certain accent and even looking very similar from the natives, being a little different and a lot of people pointing that out to you is obviously going to affect you in some way, almost very isolating. I don't think France is gay. I think France is very passionate though when it comes to like. To be honest, I only saw all my France knowledge is very, very much from movies. So maybe it's not the best representation. Like all I remember is them having sex everywhere. What you saying? My dad's from England, so I had a very mixed accent until I went to high school. Yeah, I think I've been in a similar situation where, well, I couldn't speak English, so that's very different. But of course, I'm a Japanese citizen when I moved here. So there was like a leftover like residue of how I pronounce things. Luckily, I've already been educated how to differentiate the pronunciation between like L and R and TH. Like that was lucky for me. Like my mom already taught me how to pronounce those like pronunciations. Rural. Bitch. Alright, so Ivy saying Mario is starting to have a theme of picking someone each stream and dissecting something they say, then explaining why are they like this. Oh well, I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about being a perpetual foreigner. Ivy! As if you experienced anything like that, oil queen! Everybody has their own problems. It doesn't have to be the same. We all deal with something. Like Amanda said a long time ago, we all have our own trauma that we have experienced in the past. We just don't realize it until we start digging it up, right? We don't even realize that it was a trauma. I believe that. Yeah, I think that's very true. Yeah. And being a perpetual foreigner is or was one of mine. That was like one of my own little problems that I've had growing up here. I know that. Oh god, I remember how weird it was. Like there's like a few international students from Japan coming in to my high school, but I remember not being able to talk to any of them because I've spent so long being isolated from that culture that I didn't have the confidence to talk like one of them anymore. Like I learned English like I was ready to ditch Japanese because it didn't help me at the time. And it's not like I had anybody to practice it with, since I'm the only one speaking Japanese in my little private school that I used to go to, where my cousin used to go to. I got put in the same school, and there's not another Japanese student that I can talk to. My mother didn't put me in a Japanese like after school program or anything like that. And whenever I speak to my mom in Japanese, she replies in Filipino. So who am I going to practice Japanese with? How do I know that if I'm saying things right or not? I don't. And yeah, time was different at the time, There was no internet, live streaming, or I don't know, like a group chat that I can join. Yeah, I left Japan when I was 11. Yes, that's right. That's right. Amanda was saying, when you go to any space you look similar to people in, you'll find assimilating a lot easier than someone who looks completely different. And Ivy saying, being a perpetual foreigner. That's exactly what I said. Thank you very much for picking up on that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for ignoring the fact that I corrected it. Square up, Ivy. I almost keep saying the other name. I'm still struggling to adjust. Old dogs, new trick. Right. Where were we? This is actually related to something I wanted to ask you. Yeah, you left Japan when you were 11. So you had only learned so many kanjis, right? But you can read fine. Did you keep learning kanji after you left, or what? I read a lot of manga at the time, and like most mangas come with like, like each characters are followed with usually the small letters, so it kind of teaches you how to read some letters. And I think newspapers are the same too. Yeah. But if I say furigana, then how many people are going to understand that, So, yeah, I had those to read, and I read often, so I was like okay with like most daily life kanjis. The other name, yes, Ivy? The name that shall not be spoken in this live stream. And Amanda was saying, but did you not feel it was from a survival? It was a form of survival. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it was a form of survival that you ditched. You ditched it in order to fit in and not be further left out. That's exactly how it went down. Yeah, you're describing it correctly. Yeah, cause it's that's been my brand ever since I started live streaming. I wanted friends because of how lonely I felt most of the time, whether it be in school or at home, or I don't know, being social with friends almost felt like I'm just pretending to be likable so that I don't have to be left alone, I guess. But at the same time, I remember not enjoying that. Like, it wasn't fixing the problem that I had. Yeah. Like, I learned to deal with it over the years. And I was actually fine with just being able to hang out with people and, not be disliked. Like, that was enough for me. But yeah, definitely not a good way to have or maintain a friendship. Like, it doesn't give you anything. It only gives you security and not comfort. I don't know if I described that friendship correctly, but yeah, that's what it felt like. I felt secured, but not comfortable. It's always a balancing act of making sure that I'm saying the right thing so that they still like me. Oh god. Oh no, this discussion is turning into just me talking about my life. Someone say something. Someone say something. Talk about yourself, please. I do this often. Perpetual foreigner. Like, never feeling like you belong anywhere. I think that itself is very relatable if you have like different perspectives on this. Like, not being able to fit in has been very, very common with, like, especially kids growing up, not knowing where to sit during lunch break or something. This like, this feels like group therapy. This is usually what you aim for, right? Like, discussions like this. Yeah. I remember, see, Amanda streams around 4 a.m. for me. There's no way you're gonna catch me awake around the time. There's no fucking way. I'm sleeping so that I can work like around 9 o'clock, so I'm sleeping until 8:30. I fall asleep around 1 or 2, depending on if I'm playing Animal Crossing or not. Yeah. Rusky's saying, well, Shy, I came here to rescue you, so how are you going to rescue me? Are you going to pay for my new home? Are you going to tell me that I can just quit my job and focus on streaming? Not that I want to. I don't think I'll enjoy it as much. Yeah, Amanda said you started streaming at 5 a.m. for me, so glad you were streaming long. Oh shit, really? Oh god. Like we had the worst like time zone, what do you call them? Aisho. Wedge! how do you translate Aisho? Wedge! My own personal little translator. Yeah, that's it. How do you translate that? Yeah. Poor Anki. Wait, Amanda, how are you awake then? I remember you skipping sleeping. Rusky is saying, I'm going to talk about myself. Streaming is too volatile. Don't ever quit your job for it. Of course. Yeah, that's with anything online, right?